Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand.
Hey, there we go. Microphone's on. How about that? Technology at its finest. All right, today is the 7th of October. We have a sun sign in Libra and a moon sign that is making a transition today, or actually completed its transition just 3 hours ago. We've gone from Pisces, a water sign, now we're in Aries, a fire sign. So we're back at the beginning of the zodiac. So a new cycle is beginning on this particular level of the moon signs. So we have an air sign and a fire sign. So just think how these two work together. You have underneath, you have the fire, which is moving, has ideas, and it's bubbling underneath the surface. And as it's bubbling to the surface, the air, the Libra, which it's meeting, is finding expression for it. However, because Libra is all about karmic balance, the expression it's looking for is an expression that's going to help to balance itself out, to find a way to say the things that are going to help and to avoid saying the things that are going to hurt. Not only saying the things, but taking these certain actions. So that's very important, that we are responsible for what we say and do, and if we take responsibility, it makes a big difference in our lives. So we had that transition took place into Aries, and then we have this afternoon a couple of these oppositions. It's like a teeter-totter. You got two, the sun on one end here, and here we have, just a bit larger here, here we have on this side Uranus. So what the whole idea there is, unexpected changes. So you've got, just imagine a teeter-totter. On one side you got the Uranus, the other side you got the Sun, Libra. And they're balancing themselves out. However, we all know on a teeter-totter someone can jump off and teeter-totter flops one way. And in this case, it just depends on how much of a surprise the unexpected surprise is, or how much need the mind is wanting to really balance itself out. If the two play together nicely, perhaps those unexpected surprises can be the things that help to balance ourselves out, because we are needing something to come in to provide some change that isn't what we normally are thinking about. So we need to be open to understanding any changes that come along, and certainly if there's anything unexpected. That is just before 4 o'clock. Then as it gets just before 10 o'clock tonight, this is all West Coast time, the moon sign, Aries, is going to be in an opposition with this sign here, which is Venus. So Aries and Venus, these two are opposites. Some look at these two as like lovers, Aries and Venus. We have fire varies. We have the imagination of the Venus, creativity, and so they're balancing each other out on opposite ends of this teeter-totter. And if there's a nice good flow between the two of them, if there's good imagination feeding the ideas, and the ideas are feeding the imagination and work together really good, all will work nice and harmoniously. When we get down to 11 o'clock tonight, just 12 after 11 Pacific time, we have a lesson, a square. This is between Pluto, this sign here, and the moon sign, Aries. So Aries and Pluto are going to square off, literally, and lessons. So the lesson is Aries wants to go out and rule. Aries wants to lead. But Pluto wants us to look at what's buried deep below the surface. And so those two things can be in odds with each other, because sometimes the Aries might just say, I don't want to take a look at that. I just want to keep going. But Pluto says, nope, you got to stop and you got to look. You got to see what's going on underneath the surface. And so when the Aries decides that the exploration needs to be done is on the inside, it makes a bigger difference, because now the Pluto is going to be happy with that, because that Pluto idea of looking for that deep transformational change is going to then come about, because Aries is going to be seeking that rather than just out in the world on its own accord. Now, we could see here on the 8th, and this is actually coming up between tonight, we do have this lunar eclipse. I'm going to talk about that when we get into in a little bit, probably like a half hour from now or less. So we'll get to that. The numerology for today is the number 6. And here's how we've arrived at that. So we got the 1 plus 0 plus 7 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 all together. Add them up, they're a 15, which is a 1 plus a 5, and the 1 plus the 5 is a 6. Alright, so 6 is our numerology for today. 6 is number of balance. You got 3 on one side, 3 on the other. The tarot card of 6 is the card of the Lovers, which is all about discernment, using the discernment that we have within us to be able to decipher what is right in life. It's a gift that we all have, the gift of discernment, and when we use it, we can make better decisions in life. When we don't use it, then we make decisions that aren't necessarily the best ones for our lives. So it's very important that we jump into our own sense of discernment. Here's where the 6 is, the Lovers. Here is Libra right here. And then the moon sign, Aries, is over here. So we got Aries, we got 6, and we have Libra. Now, let's take a look today at this one here, the Emperor. We haven't looked at the Emperor in a while. So, it's the 4th card. Card number 4, Hebrew letter He, means window. It's a fire sign, represents Aries. So we can see by this character here, there's a look of leadership, which is one of the things about Aries. It says the fundamental meaning of the 4th key is reason. The key is called the Emperor, and the Emperor is the one who oversees and controls. So up to this point, we've got the 0, the Fool, 1, the Magician, 2, the High Priestess, and 3, the Empress. So the Fool brings the superconscious energy into life. The Magician focuses that energy down into manifest the things that we want. So we have that idea that we want now is implanted into the virgin, the subconscious mind, the virginal subconscious field that we have, and it then gives birth through the Empress and our imagination into something. And now the Emperor is going to oversee and see what was just born. And then he's going to see if that thing is proper, if it needs to go back to the drawing board, if that idea needs to be reworked. And that's the process. Once it gets past the Emperor, now it's going to go on to the next state of the Hierophant, who starts to look at it and bless it for the spiritual perspective and teach us now that we are here, we have to look beyond the physical. So the Emperor is very important, because the Emperor is the checking point between all that has come before it, the 0, the 1, the 2, the 3. Okay, so that's why he's called the one who oversees and controls. This is the basic function of reason, for by it we supervise and control our daily activities. Vision is also attributed to this card and has close connection with the faculty of reason. When we consider reason as insight or mental vision, physical sight is also meant here, and the orange background is symbolic of the sun, source of light, by means of which we are able to see. The mountain represents the fiery activity of Mars and Aries, which are attributed to the key. Aries is also symbolized by the ram, heads on the shoulders and throne, and Mars by the steel armor by which the Emperor is clad. The 12 points that ornament the helmet are astrological. The globe is a conventional symbol of dominion. The globe and the cross, like the circle and the taw of the scepter, symbolize the masculine and feminine potencies of the radiant mental energy or life force. The purple flaps over the armor hint of his rulership, since purple is the color of royalty. The moon phase is at 99% of the way there. Tonight we are going to be hitting that full moon. And that'll be about middle of the night, about 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning Pacific time. Shows us right here. Today, the total eclipse of the moon happens before dawn Wednesday morning for North and Central America, Wednesday evening for Australia and Eastern Asia. Early in the evening for North America, look to the bright full moon for the great square of Pegasus tipped onto one corner. Okay. And here's a nice little article here about the moon, what it is from Earth's sky, at the lunar eclipse. It said tonight, the night of October 7th, 8th, there is a total eclipse of the full moon. This is the northern hemisphere's hunter moon, the full moon called the harvest moon. It's also called the blood moon, and this eclipse is the second in a series of 4 so-called blood moon eclipses. For North America and Hawaiian Islands, the total lunar eclipse happens in the wee hours before sunrise on October 8th. For New Zealand and Australia and Eastern Asia, the total eclipse is seen after sunset on October 8th. A partial lunar eclipse can be seen before sunrise, October 8th, from much of South America, or after sunset, October 8th, from Western Asia. Alright. And then it just shows what's going to happen here, and the area where it's going to move. We're all going to get a glimpse of it around the world, which is kind of cool. Alright. Mayan Oracle, we're at a 4-tone day on the wave spell of the storm. Storm is a gathering of energy, so now we've gathered this energy. We've become enlightened by the energy we've gathered, the challenging enlightenment that comes from it. We give birth to this new ideal of who we are, coming out of this idea of the storm, and now the inspiration is going to help us to see how we want to move forward, what we want, how we're being inspired by what we've learned thus far. So today we have the self-existing wind guided by the mirror. I define in order to communicate, measuring breath. I seal the input of spirit with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of endlessness. Space weather, our solar wind is 349.8 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is between the 1 and the 3, which is still in the quiet range. Got the one big coronal hole, but we can see it's passing off to the right here, going away from us. And we do still have notice that we are going to receive some sort of wind coming to us today and tomorrow from the holes that had been there previously. M-class flare possibility still at 5, X-class at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity is relatively low, 15% in the mid-latitudes, 20% in the high latitudes. And on the Jewish calendar, today is a 13 Tishri. 13 Tishri, the daily thought is, life lives on. Why is there death in the world? So that evil will not live forever. Because since we ate of the tree of knowledge, no one walks forever without stumbling. No one climbs without falling. No one does good all of his life without causing some damage along the way, until at the end their lives are an absurd muddle of good and evil, inextricably bound. With death, evil dies as well. The failures, the ugly acts, the damage done, all these wither and eventually perish, but the good that we have accomplished and what we truly are, this lives forever. Right? This lives forever. Almost sounds like a saying that what Patrick Swayze said in that movie Ghost, about how the love that you create, you take with you. Alright, and there you go. That gets us started. That's the energy of today. UFO news is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alright, Dirk, thank you very much. First one is San Diego. Sputnik-like UFO hovering above San Diego, California. This goes back last month to the 10th. Alright, this was a good shot here. This interesting 12 minutes UFO video, Sputnik-like object hovering in the daytime sky, recorded in San Diego. This was recorded on the 10th of September. We already published a report about it 2 weeks ago. Sputnik 1 was the first artificial Earth satellite. Okay, and so this is just a redo of an article they had put up there before. As I said a couple weeks ago. This is a very interesting one. Good shot of it. Definitely a very good close-up shot. Alright, so moving from there, now we have police and NORAD investigate UFOs spotted over Breckenridge, Denver TV newscast. This was on the 3rd of October. We have the green light right there. Breckenridge police, they are investigating reports of 3 shiny objects in the sky Friday morning. NORAD is not tracking any anomalies in that location. We are investigating, said Army Major Beth Smith, NORAD spokesperson. Multiple people have called in to report the objects floating in the sky. The Summit County Sheriff's Office is also investigating. Police have called the FAA. The FAA said they have not had any calls from the public regarding the sighting. Witnesses say the object would sometimes form triangles, straight lines across the horizon. News 9 reporter Matt Renault said he doesn't believe the objects were drones or weather balloons because the object appeared stationary for as long as 15 minutes at a time. They would just sit there without moving an inch on our viewer screen in the camera. During a 5 p.m. Live report, after about 15 minutes, a flash of light would appear and the objects would take off across the mountain ridge. Renault said a Utah television station reported Thursday about a similar incident happening in Salt Lake City. Okay, and if we go through here, let's say there's an object. Okay. Alright, very interesting. Next, we're going to go over Lake George, Colorado. Another roundish orb-like object. New UFO video of a bright disc-shaped object hovering in the sky above Lake George in Colorado. This was taken on the 3rd of October. The witness said they observed 3 sphere-shaped white objects of the same size and color that were eventually evenly spaced in a straight line, aligned northeast to southwest. Where were you and what were you doing at that time? They said camping in Packer Gulch near the Terrial Reservoir. What made you first notice the object? They were sitting around campfire looking up at the beautiful clear blue sky. What did you think the object was when you first noticed it? He says, I thought it might be a cloud, balloon, or possibly drone with hover capability. Describe the object and its actions and motions in detail. Observe 3 sphere-shaped white objects in the same size, shape, and color that were evenly spaced in a straight line, aligned north, east, and southwest. The 3 spheres were stationary and appeared to be not moving at all at about 30 minutes to 1 hour. Over a period of several hours, all 3 objects moved together very, very slowly in a southwest direction until they disappeared from sight. The pattern of movement, albeit very slow, was such that the 3 objects moved in unison in a line formation, keeping an equal distance from one another. This characteristic was the most difficult to explain. And their feelings were confusion, amazement, fear. They continued to discuss the event throughout the night and the days to follow. Alright, let's move from Lake George over to the next one. This is Australia, October 5th. We simply have video. 1 minute, 51 seconds. Westall, Melbourne, Australia. And there's our... Okay. You know what? We looked at this one yesterday. Alright. So we got a repeat here. Okay. Right there. And again, you just gotta... It's right in there. When you enlarge the screen, you definitely see it better. Okay. Let's move from there to this next one here. Bright UFO takes off very fast over Kernersville, North Carolina. This interesting video of a fast, unidentified flying object was filmed in Kernersville, North Carolina. What do you think the object was? Please leave comments below. Okay, this is Mr. Enigma. Okay. And here we go.
Taken in Kernersville, North Carolina, this UFO footage is remarkable.
There's one right there.
The witness said he was driving.
You know, I believe we also saw this one as well. Okay, this is the one that
how bright it was and how it stayed in the same place no matter where he turned.
zips across the sky. Okay.
He also said he filmed
Let's move from here.
45 minutes.
We're going to go next over to India. Manadab. A report submitted to the Mumbai Air Traffic Control by a commercial pilot of an Ahmedabad-bound flight revealed to have spotted a green and white unidentified flying object hovering over 26,300 feet in the sky near Pune. Describing the incident, the Jet Airways pilot, identified as Mahima Chandari, claims to have spotted the UFO at 12:45 hours while on her way to Ahmedabad from Pune. She reportedly called the watch supervisor officer at Mumbai Air Traffic Control to reveal that she saw a UFO while flying at the height of 26,000 feet. Pilot further added that the UFO was green and white in color. So we've seen a lot of these green ones lately. In the last couple days, we've seen 2, 3, 4 of these now. The green colored UFOs. Here we have a rare talk by a policeman about his UFO encounter, and it draws a huge crowd. Extra tickets have gone on sale for a talk by former policeman Alan Godfrey about his close encounter with a UFO in Tormortem. The sellout event is being moved from the reception area into the main auditorium of Tadmoran Hippodrome Theater to cope with the demand. Mr. Godfrey will give a rare talk about his sighting almost 34 years ago when he claims he witnessed a UFO hovering just a few meters away from his police car in Burnley Road while on duty. Money raised from the talk on Saturday, October 18th at 7:30 will be donated to the mayor of Tadmorden Charities Living Tadmorden and the Hippodrome Theater. The mayor, Count Michael Gill, said, "Response have been amazing. We've had to turn away one person who wanted 17 tickets at once." Okay, so there you go. And one more story here. UFOs, scientific, ancient biblical text, viewpoint. And basically this is a video. Host Rick Schuler welcomes Mr. L.A. Marzulli to the program for a fascinating discussion of the UFO phenomenon. Mr. Marzulli shares some of his unique scientific ancient biblical text viewpoint with theories and with the viewers. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to leave this video for you. And there you have it. That is our UFO news for today. I'll be right back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continue on. So, a little more info on this blood moon, which is taking place tonight. I hope you do find a way to get out and check it out. So here's an article. This is from Educating Humanity. What we have here is a video. I'm not going to play this for you, but it's a video from NASA, which is talking all about the moon. It's a 4-minute, 10-second video. Basically, it says sky watchers across much of the world will have a chance to see the moon glowing with an eerie red pallor during a pre-Halloween total lunar eclipse this week. The blood moon total lunar eclipse will rise during the full moon on October 8th, just before sunrise in North America. But red might not be the only color people see during this eclipse. Weather permitting, it's possible that some sharp-eyed observers might be able to see some blue in the moon's glow. The event will be the second of 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses in 2014 and 15, according to NASA officials. Then you go down here and it gives us our time. On the east coast of the United States, totality starts at 6:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But stargazers out on the west coast of the United States will have an even better chance of seeing the rustic glow of the moon during totality. The eclipse will occur between 3:25 and 4:24 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Wednesday. Observers in Australia and countries along the Pacific Ocean will also have a chance to see the eclipse. Alright, and here we have another one. Earth sky, what is a blood moon? And this is getting now into the tetrad. The first blood moon eclipse in a series of 4 happened on the night of August 14th and 15th, 2014. The next one is the night on October 7th and 8th. At the October blood moon, there will be a lunar eclipse. We in astronomy had not heard the term blood moon used in quite this way before, but now the term has become widespread in the media. The origin of the term is religious, at least according to Christian pastor John Hagee, who wrote a 2013 book about blood moons. Meanwhile, both astronomers and some proponents of Christian prophecy are talking about the ongoing lunar tetrad, the series of 4 total lunar eclipses which began with the last lunar eclipse on April 15th, 14th, and 15th. Okay. So, what is the lunar tetrad? Both astronomers and followers of recent Christian pastors are talking about the lunar tetrad. What is a tetrad? It's 4 successive total lunar eclipses with no partial lunar eclipses in a row. So 4 lunar eclipses, total lunar eclipses, with no partial ones in between, each of which is separated from the other by 6 lunar months, or 6 full months. We're not experts on prophecy of any kind, but we will tell you what we know about the definition for blood moon that has raised so many questions recently. From what we've been able to gather, Christian pastors Mark Blitz and John Hagee used the term blood moon to apply to the full moons of the ongoing tetrad. 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses with no partial lunar eclipses in between, each of which is separated by 6 months. Mark Blitz and John Hagee speak of the lunar triad as representing a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. After all, the moon is supposed to turn blood red before the end times, isn't it? As described in Joel 2:31, where it says the sun will be turned to darkness, the moon to blood, before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. Right? There's a lot to this article here. You can see he gets into when all these other blood moons happen, but we're going to get to that momentarily, to that same bit of info right now. Because since the time of the crucifixion, there have been 8 of these blood moon tetrads, rather 7 of them. This is the 8th. There have been a total of 8 blood moon tetrads since the beginning of Christ, including the upcoming set in right now, that's going on now between 2014 and 15. Each one is significant, and this is an amazing sign and confirmation that we are on the verge and the return of Christ in the period of the biblical calls, the Great Tribulation. We can know, and I will show you how through this study. Sign of the times are not. Many are divided on the blood moons, tetrads, and whether they have any prophetic importance. So the purpose of this page is to arm the reader with some historical information on past tetrads, the future tetrad, and what a tetrad is. We need to be equipped with better understand for ourselves what the 2014-2015 tetrad is all about and what we can expect. The picture above is of the upcoming tetrad, 2014-2015, and some are saying that is incorrect and not Almighty God's correct calendar. So in the very start, we need to look for ourselves at what happened around the past tetrads if we're going to get any idea of what we can expect with the one starting in the Jewish spring of 2014. Of course, there are many who will also see the tetrads as very significant to the Jewish people, the nation of Israel, with future expectations around the next tetrad. So blood moon tetrad are 4 consecutive lunar eclipses, all which fall on Jewish high holy days. Okay, that's the significance here. The significance of the history of the blood moon tetrads is not in fact that there are simple eclipses, but that 4 in a row and they fall on these special feast days. 4 lunar eclipses occurred during the Jewish Passover 32 AD and the Feast of Tabernacles in the year before and after the crucifixion. Okay, here's a list of all the tetrads when they occurred. And as we go down here, we could see 162 and 163. There was a series of tetrads coincided with the persecution of the Jews and the Romans. 795 and 96, again, for another tetrad, 4 total lunar eclipses on Passover and Yom Kippur. And this had to do with King Charlemagne of the Holy Empire established a DMZ zone between France and Spain, ending centuries of Arab invasion into Western Europe. In 842, there were 4 lunar eclipses that occurred with the Jewish Passover and Yom Kippur. Shortly after the eclipses, the Vatican Church in Rome was attacked and looted by Islamic invasion from Africa. In 860 and 61, 4 total lunar eclipses occurred on the Jewish Passover and Yom Kippur. Shortly after the eclipses, the Byzantine Empire defeated Arab armies at the Battle of Lalakon in Turkey. 1493, we had 4 lunar eclipses on Passover and the Feast of Trumpets holidays. Months after King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain ordered all Jewish people to leave the country. In the same month in which this was also when Christopher Columbus began his journey, or shortly after his journey. The expulsion that Columbus refers to was the cataclysmic an event that ever since the date 1492 has been almost important in Jewish history as American history. On July 30th that year, the entire Jewish community, some 200,000 people, were expelled from Spain. Tens of thousands of refugees died while trying to reach safety. In some instances, Spanish ships' captains charged Jewish passengers exorbitant sums and dumped them overboard in the middle of the ocean in the last days before the expulsion. Rumors spread throughout Spain that the fleeing refugees had swallowed gold and diamonds, and many Jews were knifed to death by brigands hoping to find treasure in their stomachs. Israel was reborn on the next one, 49 and 50. 4 total lunar eclipses occurred on the Jewish Passover and Feast of Tabernacles. This coincided with the 1948, shortly after that, when Israel proclaimed independence. We had the 6-Day War, the retaking of Jerusalem in 67 and 68. These occurred on Jewish Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, and now we have this one coming up here. So what can we expect from these? Well, there seems to be something that has been going on throughout, so we shall find out. But we're on the second one tonight. Alright, here's this sign. I brought this up yesterday. Warning and comings. The warning secondcoming.com. And I'm bringing you back to this site, and I want to take you to this page here called About. This page here says this website contains a series of divine messages given to Maria Divine Mercy, the European visionary and seer, which she has been receiving since 2010. Although Maria, who wishes to remain anonymous, had virtually no knowledge of the Bible, the messages are littered with numerous biblical references, codes, and secrets, including the Maria Divine Mercy prophecies and messages are contained in the Book of Truth and are foretold in the Book of Daniel. God the Father, she explains, has given her the seal of the living God crusade prayer, a prayer of protection against the Antichrist, also foretold in the Bible in the Book of Revelation. The Catholic Church will be taken over by enemies of God from within, and this will lead to the greatest apostasy of all time. The second coming will herald the return of Christ to judge the living and the dead, and the world will witness the rise of Satanism and New Age paganism. Okay, so this gives you a little brief of who she is. I want to get over to one of these messages here. These are the latest messages. This one is a good message here. I started reading this. It says, "My dearly beloved daughter, the betrayal of me, Jesus Christ, the Son of Man, is rampant among those who say they serve me, even though who say they are my loyal servants have deserted me, and their faith is but just a glimmer of its former state. What began with a love and a compassion for me has been reduced to a friction of what it was before, and this has been caused by many things. So much disdain for my church came about because of the fallen souls within it were led into the grave sin. Many innocent sacred servants of mine suffered because of the sins of others, and this brought them great shame. Then when the laws of God were pushed to one side and barely spoken about, many forgot that the commandments of God had to be upheld at all costs. If my sacred servants stopped preaching the truth and dismissed the importance of addressing the existence of sin, how could God's children be the wiser? My sacred servants have a moral duty to uphold the word of God and to warn God's children about the dangers of sin. But this they have decided not to do. Many are afraid to preach the truth for fear of being persecuted by those who will blame them for the sins of others. During my time on earth, I have never hesitated to preach about the punishment which man will face lest he seeks God's forgiveness for his sins. Fear of God's punishment should not be the reason to avoid sin, but only so that the sinner can be saved. Sin is something that you have to live with, but you must never accept it. You must fight it, for I desire to save your souls. Why would I desire to save your souls, whatever the cost? Did I not suffer for you and die an agonizing death on the cross so that you could be redeemed in God's eyes? Why then do my sacred servants not preach about the absolute necessity to seek eternal life? If you do not seek eternal life, then you will not find it. It is the duty of all those who serve me to help me save man from eternal damnation. The truth has been hidden for so long that many souls, due to their complacency, have been lost to me. Know that I will send forth my angels on that last day, and the man will be divided into two halves, those who have committed atrocities and those who are of me. I ask you, my sacred servants, to tell the truth. If you do not, then you will lose me, many souls, and for that I will never forgive you. You either serve God or you give in to the folly of man." Signed, your Jesus. Okay, so very interesting, very important message. You know, there is a lot of controversy going on right now, a lot of questioning. If you go through the forums, you see the questions a lot and the comments where people saying Jesus didn't exist. He was made up. What is used is information saying they don't find Jesus in the historical record. Well, there are those who say they do find stories of Jesus in the historical record. So it goes back and forth. You know, two different sides of the fence. But here's my take on that. During the time when Jesus was alive, and he was alive, during the time he caused a bit of controversy amongst the Pharisees and those who were in charge. They didn't like what he was about because he was a bit of a rebel. He stood up against the injustices. He stood up against evil. He went into the temple and turned over the money changers' tables because they were in there. Instead of serving God and praying to God, they were in there selling their goods. So Jesus was a strong individual. They wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to silence him. So they crucified him. Do you think after the crucifixion, those who wanted to silence him were suddenly going to say, now let's start writing about him, put him in all of our books? No, of course not. Because they got what they wanted. They silenced him. And all of the followers who were out there, do you think they were going to start writing about Jesus? No, because fear was put into them to be afraid. Afraid that if they stepped out of line, that they also were going to be crucified. Because imagine what they said to them. And, you know, if this is the guy who claimed to be the Son of God and we killed him, imagine what we'll do to you. And then you go into a church, a Catholic church, which is, you know, got its own set of challenges and problems these days, and you go into the church and first thing you see is a dead man hanging on a cross, enough to scare you. So there's a lot of reasons why we could look through the historical record and we wouldn't see. History is written by the winners. And in this particular case, after the crucifixion, Jesus was not around to write his own book and his own story. That came later, when we found the Dead Sea Scrolls and information that Jesus had written other pieces of information. So That's my take on this whole deal. So when people say there's nothing in the historical record, because history is written by the winners. Once they crucified him, they didn't want to write about him either. Therefore, we're not going to find him in there. So I don't believe that for anybody who is questioning that is really a set of proof at all. It just shows that he's not there because they didn't want him to be there. Point blank. All right, over to the Book of Enoch. We're going to hit chapter LXXXIII. And now, my son and this is from the series called The Dream Visions. And now, my son Methuselah, I will show thee all my visions which I have seen, recounting them before thee. 2 visions I saw before I took a wife, and the one was quite unlike the other. The first when I was learning to write, the second before I took thy mother, when I saw a terrible vision, and regarding them I prayed to the Lord. I had laid me down to the house of my grandfather, Mahalel, when I saw a vision of how heaven collapsed and borne off and fell to earth. And when it fell to the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss, and the mountains were suspended on mountains, and hills sank down upon the hills, and high trees were rent from their stems, and hurled down and sunk into the abyss. And thereupon a word fell upon my mouth, and I lifted up to cry aloud, and I said, The earth is destroyed. And my grandfather Mahalel said, Wake me, and as I lay near him, and said unto me, Why dost thou cry so, my son? And why dost thou make such lamentation? And I recounted to him the whole vision which I had seen. And he said unto me, A terrible thing hast thou seen, my son, and of grave moment is thy dream vision as to the secrets of all sin on earth. It must sink into the abyss and be destroyed with great destruction. And now, my son, arise and make petition to the Lord of glory, since thou art a believer, that a remnant may remain on the earth, and that he may not destroy the whole earth. My son, from heaven all this will come upon the earth, and upon the earth there will be a great destruction. After that I arose and prayed and implored and besought and wrote down my prayers for the generations of the world. And I will show you everything to thee, my son Methuselah. And when I had gone forth below and seen the heaven, and the sun rising in the east, and the moon setting in the west, and a few stars in the whole earth, and everything as he had known it in the beginning, then I blessed the Lord of judgment, and extolled him, because he had made the sun go forth from the window of the east, and ascended and rode on the face of heaven, and set out, and kept traversing the path shown unto him. And I lifted up my hands in righteousness, and blessed the Holy and Great One, and spake with the breath of my mouth, with the tongue of flesh, which God has made for the children of flesh men, that they should speak therewith. And he gave them breath, and a tongue, and a mouth, that they should speak therewith. Blessed be thou, O Lord, King great and mighty in thy greatness, Lord of the whole creation of the heaven, King of kings and God of the whole world. And thy power and thy kingship and thy greatness abide for ever and ever. And throughout all generations thy dominion, and all thy heavens thy throne forever, and the whole earth thy footstool for ever and ever. For thou hast made, and thou rulest all things, and nothing is too hard for thee. Wisdom departs not from thy place of thy throne, nor turns away from thy presence. And thou knowest and seest and hearest everything, and there is nothing hidden from thee, for thou seest everything. And now the angels of thy heavens are guilty of trespass, and upon the flesh of men abideth that the wrath until the great day of judgment. And now, O God and Lord and great King, I implore and beseech thee to fulfill my prayer, to leave me a posterity on earth, and not destroy all the flesh of men, and to make the earth without inhabitant, so that there should be an eternal destruction. And now, my Lord, destroy from the earth the flesh which has aroused thy wrath, but the flesh of righteousness and uprightness establish as a plant of the eternal seed, and hide not thy face from the prayer of thy servant, O Lord. And after this I saw another dream, and I will show the whole dream to thee, my son. And Enoch lifted up his voice, and spake unto his son Methuselah, To thee, my son, I will speak, hear my words. Incline thine ear to thy dream vision of thy father. Before I took thy mother Edna, I saw a vision on my bed, and behold, a bull came forth from the earth, and that bull was white. And after it came forth a heifer. Along with this later came forth two bulls, one of them black, the other red. And that black bull gored the red one, and pursued him over all the earth, and thereupon I could no longer see what the red bull, but that the black bull grew, and the heifer went with him. And I saw that many oxen proceeded from him, which resembled and followed him. And that cow, that first one, went from the presence of that first bull in order to seek the red one, but found him not, and lamented with a great lamentation over him, and sought him. And I looked till the first bull came to her and quieted her, and from that time onward she cried no more. And after that she bore another white bull, and after him she bore many bulls and black cows. And I saw in my sleep the white bull likewise grow and become a great white bull, and from him proceeded many white bulls, and they resembled him, and they began to beget many white bulls which resembled them, one following the other. And I saw with mine eyes as I slept, and I saw the heaven above, and behold, a star fell from heaven, and it arose, and eat and pastured amongst those oxen. And after that I saw the large and black oxen, and behold, they all changed their stalls and pastures as the cattle, and began to live with each other. And again I saw in a vision, and I looked towards the heavens, and behold, I saw many stars descend and cast themselves down from the heaven to the first star, and they became like bulls amongst those cattle, and pastured with them. And I looked at them, and behold, they all let out their privy members like horses, and began to cover the cows of the oxen, and they all became pregnant, and bare elephants, camels, and asses. And all the oxen feared them, and were affrighted at them. And they began to bite with their teeth, and to devour, and to gore with their horns. And then they began, moreover, to devour those oxen. And behold, all of the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them, and flee from them. And again I saw how they begat and gore each other, and devour each other. And the earth began to cry aloud. And I raised mine eyes again to heaven, and I saw the vision. And behold, there came forth from the heaven beings who were like white men. And 4 went forth from that place, and 3 with them. And those 3 had last come forth, grasped me by the hand, and took me away from the generations of the earth, and raised me up to a lofty place, and showed me a tower raised high above the earth, and all the hills were lower. And one said unto me, Remain here till thou seest everything that befalls those elephants, camels, and asses, and the stars and the oxen, and all of them. And I saw that one of those 4 had come forth first, and he seized the first star which had fallen from the heaven, and bound it hand and foot, and cast it into the abyss. Now the abyss was narrow and deep, and horrible and dark. And one of them drew a sword, and gave it to those elephants and camels and asses. Then they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And as I was beholding the vision, lo, one of those 4 who had come forth stoned from the heaven, and gathered and took all the great stars and privy members were like those of the horses, and bound them all hand and foot, and cast them into the abyss of the earth. All right, I'm going to stop right there. We'll pick up here next time. Very interesting, this book of Enoch. Very interesting. You ever read through the whole book of Enoch before? I have. It's been a while, so it's been very interesting, and I really enjoyed reading through this and seeing what is there, the message. All right, here's an article from In5D. This is from P.L. Chang and Jacqueline. Many scientists are challenging the idea that we humans have more than 2 or even 3 strands of DNA. Some even believe that we may have a total of 12 strands or more DNA. DNA is the acronym used for deoxyribonucleic acid. It contains the codes that act like a blueprint, giving instructions to cells and telling them how to behave. Most DNA is found in the cell nucleus, while a small amount is found in the mitochondria. The conventional DNA model is believed to carry the informational code made from our 4 chemical bases. There are about 3 million bases in the average human DNA, and over 99% of the DNA is the same in all people. This means that a very small portion, less than 1% of the DNA, differs from person to person. Most of us are aware of the 2-strand DNA model that is formed when nucleotides are arranged in 2 long strands, forming a spiral called the double helix. The structure of the double helix looks somewhat like a ladder. The way DNA is structured allows it to store more than 700 terabytes of information in a single gram of DNA. It's pretty amazing. If few years ago, geneticists officially acknowledged the first case of a child with 3 strands of DNA. The child, named Alfie Clamp, was a 2-year-old boy who became the only person in the world to be diagnosed with 3 DNA strands. Unfortunately, he was born blind and with several disabilities. Recently, a Cambridge study is now suggesting that the 4 strands, quadruple helix, of DNA also exist within humans. Some geneticists even believe that the human body has the potential to carry 12 strands of DNA. There is a large group of geneticists that believe humans are going through a leap in evolution, which is why our DNA is changing faster than normal. These geneticists claim that we are evolving, but they aren't sure what we are evolving into. Some of the 7% of our junk DNA is also becoming more active, which could be one of the reasons why we are becoming more intuitive and intelligent. The mutation of DNA from a double helix into a quadruple helix is predicted to have many effects on the human body, including added perception and awareness. These mutations could affect our complete awareness as human beings and help us understand one of the most fundamental questions: how life was created and what is the origin of life. Right? So, let's jump down here to the end of the article. What we have here is some ways in which we can make some changes to our DNA. Ho'oponoponopo. This is a Hawaiian code of forgiveness. This is a really good one. You simply state, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. You can include that with your meditation. Very, very powerful. And then here's some examples of some affirmations you can help. My pineal gland is fully open. My chakras are clear and balanced. My DNA codes are fully open and allow me to help myself and others in the best interest of humanity. All right? And at the very end, it says, perhaps I'm wasting my time, but if people don't experiment like this, we'll never know if anything changes. All right, so basically, here's some experiments that are being done just to show how all of these positive effects and these words and these affirmations do have effects on things in life. Here's an example. So read the whole article. You'll find it very good. Lots of good articles from In5D. So check it out. Check it out. Check it out. All right. Moving from here, we're going to go to our message for today. All right. You know, it's really interesting in this day and age that we're living in, because we're challenged. I mean, all of these messages tell us that there's something changing. We're changing. The world around us is changing. The energy is changing. Life is changing. All for the positive. That's what we're told when we read through the books. We hear the positive messages that are there. When we have the channeled messages, we hear the positive messages that are channeled to us. Yet, the physical world has a different agenda. A friend of mine called me the other day, and he's actually called me several times in the last week, just told me he can't believe how when he turns on CNN, how they keep promoting this fear and keep saying, no, no, you have to be afraid. You're not listening to me. You have to be afraid. And he's just astounded by the way in which they just are trying to push this agenda of fear. And that's not really necessary, because the books tell us, the books of prophecy, the words of Jesus, the words of Enoch, tell us don't be afraid. We have to trust. If we are righteous, if we know that we have chosen ourselves to be one of the elect, because we choose to walk the path of righteousness, we have nothing to be afraid of. It is only those who are causing problems to humanity. Those are the ones who are going to have the problem when all of this change takes place. So we just need to stay the course. We need to not lose the faith about what's going on in the world. We need to keep the faith. We need to continue to love each other and continue to trust what we know. Because if we don't, we're going to get fooled. And what are the things that we've been told over and over? Jesus has told us, don't be deceived. Do not be deceived. Over and over we get that message, that in those days they will lie to you. They will tell you about wars. They will spread rumors. And that's what we hear about. We have all kind of rumors in the world these days. We have rumors about beheadings, which some analysts say aren't real, that they're fake, and some are all nervous about. We have rumors about vaccines. Viruses like the Ebola. But then there's stories out there about whistleblowers who came out weeks before these occurred saying that there was going to be a false flag involving the Ebola virus. So we have FBI who comes out with lists saying no one was murdered in Newtown, Connecticut, but the media told us for months about all of these children that were supposedly murdered there. And on and on. We can go throughout and we can see stories that don't match what we're being told. And the one thing they have in common, they're all aimed to provide fear. So don't be afraid. Go the opposite direction. When they tell you to be afraid, don't be afraid. Just send love to them. Have compassion for them, because that's the mentality that they're stuck in. And you just go to your place of being filled with love and faith. And don't have any fear. Let them have their fear. If that's what they want, eventually they'll wake up to the program and realize the error of their ways. But this pattern of fear, just be aware of what's going on. Be aware of how they're trying to push it. And once you're aware, it's not going to affect you because you're not going to allow it to. Let's get to our message for today from the angels. Here we go.
The Angels.
By Ann Albers, October 4th, 2014.
The Angels.
My dear friends, we love you so very much. There are within you, dear ones, deep desires, ones you are afraid to admit because you don't know how they will come about. And for some of you these desires are at the surface, but deep within you lies a feeling of resignation or fear that they may never come about. In truth, each one of you, through these desires, is striving to come to know the Creator's love. Although you may feel as if you are striving to know this love through the external circumstance you wish for, in truth you are striving to know this love as it exists within you. So why are desires in your heart at all then? Why do you wish for a fulfilling career, a relationship, achievement of a goal, or a more beautiful existence, when you all know that happiness is never dictated by the outside world, but rather by your inner conditions? Dear ones, you wish for things because it draws you forward. It creates growth, movement, and change in your lives. It causes you to believe in your own worth more strongly, to summon up your internal power more clearly, and to find greater faith in the love that lives within you. When you achieve these internal changes, your external wishes must, by the vibrational nature of the universe, be fulfilled in some fashion, often in ways even better than you might expect. So, admit your dreams to yourselves. Admit your fears. Admit the fact that you want help from the heavens in increasing your faith, knowing your worthiness, and owning your power to focus your intention on the positive and beautiful dreams inside of you. Then, dear ones, real help will come, the kind of help that is deep-rooted, and enables you to know and feel the true nature of your soul and God's love for you, inside and out. God bless you. We love you so very much. The Angels.
All right, very good. You know, the opposite of fear is love. So all we have to do is project love into our world, and that will change the nature of what we're experiencing. It will change that fear. It will remove the fear. So that's what we're going to focus on here. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And then breath again and again. And as you breathe in, imagine breathing in love. And feeling this love go through all of your DNA. And cleansing out any bits of fear that might exist there. And as you're going through and this love is cleansing out this fear, feel where this fear originates from. And as you get rid of the fear and you begin to understand where its source is, you begin to understand the frailties of humankind and the lack of faith and the confusions the world is going through. And as you cleanse your body of the fears and become with filled with more love and faith, you begin to have confidence in the direction that we are heading. And the more confidence and faith that you have, the more you realize that those who are causing fear are a small minority of the mix, a small minority of those who live upon this planet. And once you realize this and put this into proper perspective, you realize that those causing the fear, this small minority, are so insignificant. They are simply afraid themselves, and all that they are doing is projecting out into the world their own fears. So let us at this moment send out into the world love. Let's send love to all of the television and news networks around the world, to all of the anchors and news persons and whoever is involved there. Let's send them love right this moment, so that they no longer feel the fear of oppression of a network that wants to stop them from saying positive things. And let's just send love to all of our political leaders around the world, for we know that they are only fighting wars because they are afraid of losing their power. So let us send them love so they realize the error of their ways. Let us think compassionately for all of those who are stuck in this area of fear, and just send love that they might be able to rise past their fear in place of complete faith. And let's just imagine ourselves going through the world today, spreading seeds of love and light, seeds that go out into the world and bless the world and help continue to clear the doubts and the fears from the planet. For this is the biggest problem we are facing right now. For when we look past the fear and we understand the true faith, the true love of the universe, we understand the power of the Creator. And we realize that there is nothing to be afraid of, and that all fear is just simply man-made misunderstandings of the processes of what are going on in the world. So we imagine ourselves going out into the world today, sending out light, sending out love to all those that we meet. We just do so silently. And just see yourself walking the path of life, spreading love, spreading light. Let's imagine the words of today's affirmation: I let go of my anger. Because we know that anger is attached to fear, simply an expression that comes from this fear. So we let that go as we are out into the world, and as we send this love, we help others to let go of their anger as well. So imagine ourselves sending this love into the world. Let your subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is the show for today. Thank you for being here. Just go into the world. Just keep loving. There's nothing to be afraid of except fear itself. And fear is simply an illusion. So once we look past the illusion, we find that there is nothing there at all to be afraid of. For there's just love, and there is light, and there is God. And with love and light and God, we've got all that we need to manifest everything in this world that we could ever want. So let's continue to make this world a good place by thinking of good things and doing good things and helping to dissipate the fear by sending love. And as we go through the world today and you meet someone that is stuck in that place, just have compassion for them. Don't be angry, just have compassion. Send them love silently and allow them to move through the process of change that they need to go through. That's it for today, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. All the links to today's show are available at firstcontactradio.com. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, I love you. Keep loving each other. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.